Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
Hi, I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence. I've lived in Central Illinois my whole life, and if there's one thing I've learned, you don't have to go far to find the beauty of the great outdoors. Come along with me as I visit a variety of parks and natural areas in Central Illinois and share why you should take a hike to each episode's location. Adventure and fun await in Take a Hike, the mini-series. And we didn't have to go very far for our interview today. We are at the beautiful Lake Charleston, and I'm joined by two fabulous guests today. Closest to me, I have Brian Jones. He is the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Charleston. And on the outside, we've got Diane Ratliff, and she is Tourism? Perfect. So today, again, we're at beautiful Lake Charleston. First, can you give us a little bit of a background of how Lake Charleston, like the development of it, came to be?
Yeah. We actually have two different bodies of water out here now. We have Lake Charleston, we also have the Emberall River, and they got divided by the side channel reservoir, which I'm not sure exactly when was put in, but so anyway, we have two different bodies and people use both of them extensively. There's a lot of things that go on with the two bodies of water, fishing obviously being one of them, but again, there's other activities that go on out here as far as bird watching. People are kayaking, paddle boarding, and that type of thing, even though no swimming is allowed in either one of them.
That was going to be one of my questions, is the recreation out here. So how did kind of the development start to take place? I know, at least from recent history, one of the biggest things that people notice would be all of the trail work. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, currently we do have just over 9 miles of trails around the lake, separated into 3 different park areas. So we have Lake Charleston, we have Woodyard Park, and then we have Lakeview Trail Park as well. So they kind of all connect to make one big large loop of trails around here.
So our last kind of big swath of things that have been redone out here at the park is this playground. Can you talk about that?
Yes, this there hasn't been playground equipment out here, I don't think, since the 1960s or maybe early 1970s. And it was one of the things that when we started redoing the master plan, this was something that they wanted to put back out here, was a playground. And it's really been very, very popular. It's used a lot, and it's kind of a unique setup, as in it's a long, drawn-out playground, which is kind of unusual. But it has climbing rocks, it has the zip line, which has been very popular since we put that in. And again, we've tried to do something with the natural tones, colors, not have something big and bright that was going to stick out when you're out here in nature. So that's the idea behind the color scheme. But yeah, this has really been a really nice feature that's been added to the area.
And it's nice that it looks like there would be opportunities for your smaller Lake Charleston visitors up to a little bit older as well.
Correct.
There's a lot of recreation opportunities for people. Is there any of them that you would like to kind of start with? Because I'd like to run through all of them just so folks really know what Lake Shelbyville has to offer.
Right. Well, so Lake Shelbyville, so why are we here? You know, I talked briefly about the Flood Control Act, but that is why we are here. We're number one mission here at Lake Shelbyville is flood control. So, you know, it is the Kaskaskia River. So from Champaign, it goes through Lake Shelbyville. From Lake Shelbyville, then it goes into Carlisle Lake. And then from Carlisle Lake, it goes into the Mississippi. So that is why we are here, because of the extensive flooding on the Kaskaskia. So, you know, recreation just is an added bonus to that, you know. So a lot of people, you know, they think, well, we built Lake Shelbyville so you had a place to camp, you had a place to go fishing. Yeah, exactly. And we do, we're very thankful that we have those benefits from that. But, you know, number one's flood control. We help aid the navigation in the Mississippi. So, you know, we're taking directions from our water control in St. Louis of how much water we should hold back, how much we should release, and that is to aid that navigation in the Mississippi. So that is a huge picture of Lake Shelbyville in general. But then you've got, of course, fish and wildlife. That's another mission, recreation, and then water supply as well. So, you know, what is there to do at Lake Shelbyville? Well, first of all, fishing. You know, when you think of a lake, you think of fishing. Fishing is our #1 activity here at the project. Some people may not think that. They'll think that that's camping. But the amount of fishermen that come to the project and fish, it's tremendous. It is bringing a lot of economic money into the area. So fishing is by far #1. We do have a great organization, the Fish Habitat Alliance, Lake Shelbyville Fish Habitat Alliance, who has spent the last few years really working hard to sustain the fisheries here at the project.
So we are back. We have swapped locations out here at Denham's Pit. We are on the Kaskaskia now.
Yes, we are.
Fabulous. So you and I were talking that a lot of folks don't know about this hidden gem of a water trail. So can you fill us in on what it is?
Right, absolutely. So actually the Corps of Engineers had a couple water trails mapped out in our master plan. But you know, when you do anything new, it takes manpower, it takes people, and you know, we're still trying to operate everything we had. So Spark, an organization out of Sullivan, which consists of different business individuals, community, you know, folks in the community, they put together this group to try to increase recreation, bring new ideas to Moultrie County. So we gave them our idea, and they took it away and had an Eagle Scout who helped with the design of the signs and get money for this water trail, and here we are today.
We do a lot of prescription burns here in the park. And for a long time, this area didn't burn that much, or maybe parts of it did. But the more that our biologists and up-and-coming biologists have learned about prescription burning, the more we're applying it here to the park. And to get rid of non-native shrubs and non-native plants in the park and bring back an ecosystem, it requires fire. Fire has been a part of this ecosystem for thousands and thousands of years. So we've added fire back into the landscape here at the park, and there are areas where you can definitely see it. And in the spring, you'll see tens of thousands of wildflowers where we burned in the fall. So that's the one thing that I think we did our first prescription burn on day 9 that I was here. And there was an area actually right behind us, the Oak Ridge area, that had never burned before. And it was just an incredible burn. It was a very hot burn, but the results that we saw in the spring and in the summer were just astounding. Right here, this is a great shrub. This is the sassafras, and it smells incredible. So go ahead and smell that. Now the sassafras was actually introduced to the settlers of New Orleans by the Choctaw Indians. The bark of this was powdered, and that's what we call gumbo filet. So the Choctaw Indians taught the settlers how to use that and put that in their gumbo. You know, Louisiana's like multicultural from all over, and gumbo filet, an ingredient of that, you know, dish of New Orleans, was introduced by the, you know, sassafras and the Choctaw Indians. We've got sassafras everywhere out here. It's really a nice shrub, in my opinion. That's all big blue stem. That's the state grass of Illinois. That's a native grass. For every grass that you see, 85% of our native grasses in Illinois are underground in the form of roots. 15% is above ground, as what you see on top. And so that means that for every ounce of grass material we have on top, we've got 5.66 ounces of roots that go down deep. So some of the grasses that we have in Illinois, in some of our remnant prairies, are older than any oak tree we have. They could be thousands of years old. And if you want to talk about carbon sequestration, right here, the Illinois prairie and the Illinois prairie grasses, because those roots die off every 3 years, they kind of recycle themselves. More roots come in, and then they decompose underground, and that's where we get some of the best farmland that the world has ever seen.
From what I understand, there is just so much for families to do. Can you talk a little bit about some of the opportunities of Douglas-Hart?
Yeah, so I always say, you name it, we do it. We do a lot of bigger events coming up. Well, in this season is our haunted hike, but then we do Earth Day Festival. We also offer summer camps, which is definitely our big programming, probably highlight of the year. We do a fall fest in the past we've done. We do a winter wonderland walk. So we have some bigger festivals that we encourage people to attend. But we also just do public programming. We like to capitalize on those days that the kids are out of school. We want them to get outside, get in nature, and just have a fun day. And then along the way, they're going to learn, which is great. We also offer scouting programs. We just kind of do it all. We have some homeschool programs that we offer. We do some adult programming, as well as we do some monthly programs, and that's kind of our big thing here. We have a bird club, a Nature Nuts Kids Club, care club. We do it all.
You name it, we do it. That's fair. So folks who are wanting to see these kind of activities, I would say pointing them towards a website, a Facebook, that's probably the best place to keep up with all things Douglas-Hart.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is www.dhnature.org, and then you can find us on Facebook, the Douglas-Hart Nature Center, Friendship Garden, and the Whiteside Garden.
Perfect. So folks who have never been out here before, is it just those trees that our good founder had planted? What are there trails? What does this place have to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about 70 acres here, and our trails are all flat, easy trails. They're all limestone. We do have a couple mulch trails, so they're really easy to get around. And they go through our prairie, our woodlands, and we have a wetland and pond as well. So that's probably the pond, and feeding the fish in the spring and summer is probably definitely a highlight. Yeah, it's like the secret garden. You just have to find your way through. Well.
That sounded like a big frog.
I think sound to me like I swear it's probably a leopard frog, because I think they sound like they're laughing at you whenever they jump away from you, because I had to do, in my herpetology class in college, I had to go and identify frogs and their calls, and I swear every time you went to go get a leopard frog, they laughed at you and jumped away.
This looks pretty tropical for Central Illinois.
Yeah, so this is actually a banana tree. And it kind of takes you out of Coles County. So that's kind of one of the things I love about Whiteside Garden, is just a short way outside of Charleston, and you come to the garden and you feel like you're not in Central Illinois anymore.
Is there a lot of opportunities for birding around here? I feel like earlier, did you mention eagles?
Yes. Oh yeah, we have eagles. We see so many birds here, and it is a destination for birders. We have a lot of birders from Indy and Chicago and St. Louis that come here, and I think we just get kind of accustomed and spoiled to how many birds are here. The pileated woodpeckers that live here, we see them commonly, we hear them all the time, and people will trek down and want to know where they should go, and we just go for a walk on one of our trails, and you'll probably get to at least hear one. So yeah, we have a lot of birds here, and we have a long history. We have bird charts that date back into the 70s of all the birds that were here and are still around.
So let's pivot a little bit and talk about, I think it's sugar bush, and then also the maple syrup that comes out of here.
That's another specialty. There aren't too many people in Illinois that produce maple syrup, and we're certainly not the biggest, but we are definitely one that invites a lot of people to come see it. So we don't just demonstrate it, we actually do produce maple syrup. Some years it might only be 30 or 35 gallons, but a couple years we've made over 150, and we tap around 500 trees. They have increased it a little bit, and that happens in February. And then in March we have traditionally a pancake and sausage dinner. And the sugar bush is actually the building where the syrup is made. And that's where the evaporator is, because the process is, it's the only thing I know where you aren't mixing things together to make something, you're taking something out. You get rid of the water and what you're left with is maple syrup. There is this beautiful mushroom right here. This mushroom is called a chicken of the woods. It's one of the edible mushrooms, but we're not going to pick it and eat it. We're just going to enjoy looking at it. It would have to be cooked, of course. And should you just go out and pick a bunch of mushrooms and then eat them? No, some of them are poisonous. So we're just going to enjoy looking at it. So if you find something amazing, you can call us and we'll come look at it with you, okay? Okay. So walk, don't run.
Carefully.
Be careful.
Go mushroom hunting.
Mushroom hunting, you move slowly.
And then, yeah, we've covered some of the trails, but also we have 14 formal gardens that really are showcased, you know, from spring all the way up till, November maybe. And then, in the winter time, we do have a after dark kind of lighted walk experience. Ooh. And so that is a nice thing. So really year round, you know, I think there are different things to see and experience and through the gardens and the natural areas. And then I guess I'd say, the mansion, we have private events, and so it can be reserved for, you know, reunions, weddings, things like that, you know, private birthday parties and things like that. But also we do have a lot of public events and lodging in the mansion as well. And so people can come out and, you know, reserve a room, and that way they can kind of have an extended stay and see all that there is to see here.
And I'm sorry, were you saying this side of the park is where there are older trees or younger trees?
It's kind of a mix. There are some trees that have been here a little bit longer, but most of this is less than 100 years old. To where we have parts on the south side of the park and on the north side as well that you'll see, you know, 200-plus-year-old oak trees that have been here for quite some time.
Now as we're emerging from the wooded trail.
This is the great part of Allerton Park. When you're walking, and you may not be well versed on what gardens are here, and then all of a sudden you pop out into a spot like this where you're kind of taken aback. You're like, wow, what is this?
Yeah, surprise. Can we take a little walk on in?
Yeah, sure.
Could you fill us in? Who are these critters?
So these are the famous foo dogs. These have kind of moved around the park, but this is the garden that Allerton created for the final spot for them. But this is a really popular spot for weddings, ceremonies in the spring, summer, and fall. You can see someone's enjoying the tower. We have a spiral staircase that goes up to the top, and you can see all the way down the food dog garden, as well as the vine walk, which will get you back to the main parking lot.
Not to put you on the spot, but is there a little history behind the food dogs?
So it was, to my understanding, one of those things that, you know, he traveled a lot and saw a lot, and he collected the things and just wanted his own food dogs here at Allerton.
Well, he definitely succeeded. I'm terrible at math, but guesstimating how many food dogs
I think there's 22.
I think there's 22. We'll look around and count. Yep. There's several. Yep. Another reason to take a hike to Allerton Park so you can count the food dogs for yourself. Well, awesome.
And we had our recent viral, as you should say, Facebook. We had a bee swarm in the mouth of one of these food dogs.
Oh man!
And thousands of bees, and it was, you know, bee swarms, they'll move around, so it's not like they took residence in the mouth, but they checked it out for a bit, and then they were on their way. It was pretty cool.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Rural King at RuralKing.com.